Hi, my name is Thais, and I am the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about shadow work. So shadow work is probably to date one of the most powerful tools that I found for integration and healing. And what I've done is in the course we've created for the Personal Development School is I've combined shadow work with a whole bunch of different subconscious healing modalities to basically create 5 different major processes for integration. And healing is essentially integration and equilibration. So this is a huge component of how we truly heal, is by sort of integrating these repressed, cut off, dislocated, or fragmented aspects of the psyche that we have repressed or denied within ourselves as a survival behavior, basically to adapt to our environment. So I'm going to get in this video to a little bit about what that all means. So stay tuned for that. And in this video as well, I'm going to go through one of the main 5 processes at sort of a high level in this video, because obviously I can't go through it for, hours and hours, but I'm going to go through a high level process about how to use shadow work when you're looking at your relationship shadow. So we have different shadows. We have a relationship shadow that can come up. We have a shadow of ourselves with our family. And when we look at our shadow, if we have a dense shadow, we tend to struggle a lot with feelings of low self-love, low self-esteem, unworthiness, and it's because there are literally aspects of ourselves we are not allowing to come back and be integrated into a sense of feeling whole, and we're repressing. And so there's basically parts of ourselves that we're turning against at a subconscious level without consciously recognizing it. So I'm just going to go through and tell you a little bit about the shadow and what it is if you're not familiar. And then I'm going to take you through a little interesting process you can apply to see how your shadow impacts your relationship specifically. So the shadow was originally a term coined by Carl Jung in Jungian psychology. And he's a psychoanalyst and psychologist who founded analytical psychology. He's very well known. He was sort of like Freud's protege. And Freud obviously was a bit of a pioneer, but Jung was like really good at his work. Like he has a lot of really, really profound thoughts and material and some really interesting and amazing stuff, and shadow work being one of them. So your shadow is essentially the hidden traits of your personality that you are not consciously aware of. They're essentially aspects within yourself that the ego doesn't want to identify with. And so what happens is, you can think of the shadow as being sort of the negative traits of the subconscious mind that you are repressing due to programmed perceptions that you've adopted in childhood, telling you that these traits that exist within yourself are bad or made you unworthy of love. So if you imagine that you're a child and you're essentially whole, you're a human being and you have the capacity to access and express any trait at any given time, and that traits themselves are not positive or negative. Traits are neutral, but it's how we use them and how we respond to these traits that can become positive or negative. So let's say, for example, that as a child, you are taught that expressing your emotions is negative. The expression of emotions is part of your human characteristic. Like you having emotions, you being an emotional being, is part of your genetic makeup. Like you are going to experience emotions. So there is feedback. You're biologically wired to have emotional responses to things. And so if you're taught that this part of you is bad because you grew up in a family and maybe you're a young man, let's just take like a really stereotypical example, and you're taught like crying is weak, or you're girly if you cry, or you're a baby or whatever, then you might learn to repress this aspect of yourself. And what you've done is there's a part of you that has turned against another part of yourself, an aspect of your being, an aspect of who you are at your core. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to repress these aspects of self and try to, and for the personality or the ego mind to try to deny that these parts exist within us. And not only does this take a lot of energy, but it can be a serious form of suffering, because the messaging we are giving to other aspects of our subconscious mind is that you're not worthy of love. This part of you isn't worthy of love. This part of you doesn't matter. We can't see this. People will judge it. You're bad if you are this way. So there's this natural self-judgment and honestly self-loathing and self-hatred that exists when we are repressing aspects of self. And so having emotions is not good or bad. If we use our emotions and we lash out at people and we scream and we hit people and we are physically violent, then yeah, our emotions, we're not using them for good. We're using them in a way that's unhealthy. What if we use our emotions as feedback and recognize, oh my gosh, there's some kind of problem inside of me that needs to be corrected, or I might be misperceiving something or telling a story about something, or oh my gosh, my emotions are letting me know I have a big unmet need that I have to cater to. If we're tuning into these areas, then our emotions were a beautiful gift because we got to use them for self-awareness, for growth, for self-realization. So we go wrong because conditioning, the way we're conditioned or socialized through the punishment reward system that we all experienced, the way that we are conditioned basically causes us to cut off parts of ourselves and try to repress them into the subconscious. And honestly, probably you could say one of the biggest challenges is that the more dense your shadow is, because the more repressed aspects or traits or qualities of the psyche you are pushing down and disowning, the lower your self-esteem will naturally be, and the less self-love you will naturally have access to. And so when we do shadow work and we do a deep dive into shadow work, and I've got some really deep processes for this that are very unique. When we do a deep dive into this, we are integrating these parts of ourselves. We're accepting, we're loving, we're honoring, we're noticing. And as a result, our self-esteem, our feelings of worthiness, our ability to communicate our boundaries and show up for ourselves because we feel worthy and deserving to do so, our ability to receive, our ability to experience more abundance because we think that we are worthy of receiving, and our ability to receive love and to give love because we are actually loving ourselves so we can love from a healthy place. These things all expand dramatically. So shadow work is really, really beautiful. So anyways, I won't go into like a ton more history about the shadow. You can think of the shadow as being traits primarily, but also different impulses and behaviors or desires. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to focus on one specific tool. So this isn't one of the main ones, but it's very unique to this it's very not unique. It's very that's not the word. It's very like fitting for this channel, because in this channel we talk a lot about attachment theory. And so when we look at your attachment style, and let's say patterns that you have that where you keep attracting the same person or type of people, we can refer to this, or we can think of this as being your relationship shadow. So this is sort of a bonus part that I add into the course, but you can think of a bonus like shadow symptom, or a shadow symptom can be essentially any pattern of traits that you keep finding show up in your life. So let's say it can be a romantic relationship, but let's say it can also be a friendship or a family member. You might always find that you're dating the same person who always fears commitment, or you have the same best friend who always abandons you. You have a history of feeling like a friend abandons you, or you always have bosses who you find are really critical, like a parent figure, like your mother was critical or something like that. So if we have this part of ourselves, if we notice that we are always finding the same repetitive patterns in the people that we bring into our lives, and honestly, this usually expresses itself most in similar people you've dated, or maybe not even the similar people you've dated as much as it is that even though the people might be vastly different in many ways, they tend to have the same 2 or 3 common traits that trigger you. Like maybe they don't listen to you, or they make you feel unimportant, or they dismiss you easily. Okay. So whatever these traits are, here's a process and here's what to do with them. These shadow traits that you see in others, these traits that trigger you in other people, are actually letting you know, like, we are taking things personally that are personal to us. So usually when you're triggered by somebody else's behavior, it's showing you your shadow, and it's showing you usually one of these 3 things, if not multiple. Either something that I also do to myself at a subconscious level and I'm not aware of, either something that I also do to this person that I'm in this relationship with or having this triggering event or problem with, or something I'm doing to somebody else in my life that I am not recognizing and is out of my conscious awareness. So let's say, for example, that you find that somebody always doesn't listen to you in a relationship, and so their trait is that they're dismissive of you, or they ignore you, right? They treat you like you're unimportant, whatever it is. Let's just say that they're dismissive of you. You have to look and you have to go, okay, where am I dismissive to myself? Okay, where does that show up? And try to look for 2 to 3 places. And this could be, I dismiss my own feelings and needs all the time. This could be, I dismiss my boundaries and I don't end up speaking up. Even though I feel them and know that I need them, I still dismiss them at the end and I don't speak up for myself. I dismiss my dreams because I think that I'm not capable or worthy of achieving them. So look, because what's beautiful about the shadow is that when these people are coming into your life, or a person is coming into your life and they're triggering or activating something in you, there's actually a beautiful golden nugget, and they're showing something really deep and valuable about something that you're likely also taking part in, whether it's in relationship to self or in relationship to others. And your next question is, okay, where am I dismissive of this person also? Am I dismissive of this person when they dismiss me? Am I dismissive of this person in a different way than they're dismissive of me, and I'm not recognizing? Maybe they tried to express a feeling, and when they express a feeling that I'm mad or I'm triggered, I dismiss them completely and I don't hear them. And so look, it's not always occurring in the same form. They might be dismissing you for your opinion. You might be dismissing them for their feelings, right? So check, where am I dismissing? And take the time to look and really evaluate, because usually you'll find something amazing. And then lastly, where am I dismissive of somebody else or multiple people in my life that I'm not recognizing that this person is mirroring to me? And so remember, we take things personally that are personal to us. And the reason things are triggering, emotions, what they're doing is helping to make the subconscious content conscious. So we want to take that emotional response, reaction, and use it for the golden nugget that it's trying to serve up to us by going inwards and asking ourselves these questions. So I have a much deeper shadow work process in the course that goes through and also helps you reconnect to the source of these things and look at the cost and create strategies and solutions for them, really do a deep dive. But for the sake of the relationship shadow, what you can do is, number one, make a list of the traits that you keep reattracting to your life. And then number two, go through the steps and ask yourself these questions. Okay, where do I act this way to myself? Where do I act this way to somebody else? And where do I act this way to this person? And so it may not be, you may not find all three. You might find two of the three or just one really important one of the three. But the reason that we keep bringing this person in with these traits, or the reason we keep getting triggered by this person, is because there's an aspect of ourselves that they're showing us that we want to push down and not take ownership of, not recognize, and not own. And in doing that, we prevent ourselves from integrating back into a space of wholeness. And as you recognize these things, and as you see them in yourself, and then you create a strategy or a solution to put an end to them, this is where we really get into basically exponential self-growth and self-realization that takes place at a very fast level. So I really do highly recommend the shadow work course inside the school. Because it's probably one of my favorite courses and one of the most powerful courses in there for anybody who's just really looking to grow really quickly, do a lot of deep inner healing, remove a lot of the triggers from their lives, because what this really is it helps you to get rid of these triggers once and for all, once you've integrated these traits and once you have strategies and solutions for them. So anyways, I hope that's really interesting for you guys now. And this can, if you look, I'll add one more little thing in here that I want to say. If you look at, for example, the anxious and the dismissive avoidant, the anxious person, the anxiously attached individual, they often feel dismissed by the avoidant, right? The dismissive avoidant, let's say. And how does the anxious show up for their own feelings and needs when they're in a relationship? They usually put them last. So they're in the habit of dismissing their own feelings and needs. So they keep attracting a partner who's a match to that, because they operate in a relation. The anxious operates in a relationship that way, and they feel comfortable there. And those are their subconscious patterns and behaviors. So it's easy for them to be with the dismissive at the subconscious level. And so the dismissive is just mirroring to them what they do to themselves. And so it's really powerful to recognize that. And it's when we create change there on the individual level that we can really create that change in our romantic relationships. So try that exercise. Let me know your experience in the comments below, and I hope to see you inside the school. Thank you so much for watching.